Hello and welcome to the Wildcard Rewind. I am back once again as your host. We are joined by Mags and Hannah. And before we introduce our guests, let's play the Rewind intro. If I can get it.
Come on, Paul.
My computer's froze. Mags, do it. My computer's froze.
Mate, see, this is why the Chiefs made it to the Super Bowl, Paul. You can't even get the intro music right. Let's go.
I just want to rewind to when we were young at heart. Back to all those good times. Take me back to the start.
Yes, we are in, apart from a technical hitch with my computer for some unknown reason. But yes, this is our Wildcard Rewind. I don't know if we'll call it a rewind. It's more of a future look. This is our Super Bowl special. And we are joined by our first ever guests on this show. And they would describe themselves as the best two from the Wildcard Dynasty guys. First of all, we got Kev at Dynasty Go. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. It's great to be the first guests on your show. Obviously, it's great to be the first guest on the show. I'll be coming a little bit early on before Matt in the show. So I'm going to take that as the first ever of all time. Thank you for that. But yeah, doing really well. For the people that can obviously see the video, I'm wearing an Eagles jersey. So yeah, going really well at the moment. Thank you.
I love the fact that you've turned up to a Super Bowl preview show in an Eagles tops, and our resident Chiefs fan, for the first time in about 4 weeks, has decided he's not going to wear his and wash it instead. But yeah,
has to be ready for the weekend.
Let's get on to our second guest, Matt at Matt FF Dynasty. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing really well, thanks. Yeah, like Kev said, thanks for having us on. Letting us be the first guest onto the Wildcard Rewind show. Yeah, I mean, you let Kev go first, but we all know you save the best till last, don't you? So, I mean, I can let Kev have his little moment at the start, but yeah, it's just good to be on. Looking forward to this week, and obviously there's a little game going on Sunday that we're all getting excited for. Kev and Mags maybe a little bit more than the other three, but yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, to be honest, mate, I did put the best to last on the show sheet under Ali's name, but he dropped out last minute. So, Ali, we miss you, man. But sorry, Matt's the best now. Matt's the best. Mags, how are you doing, mate? I haven't even asked you how you're doing.
Yeah, just getting more nervous by the minute, to be honest. Just every day, another day closer to the big game. And it's a slow process now. I just can't wait for the game to get started. But yeah, I'm nervous. I'm a ball of nerves.
You should be. And last but definitely not least, Hannah, I feel like you missed out on having your say last week. Is there anything you want to say to Mags before we move on? Any comebacks or anything like that?
Well, no, everyone knows that Mags likes to hear the sound of his own voice and talk all sorts of crap. No, to be fair, I mean, a lot of what he said was good points, you know. Went on a bit too long about how great the Chiefs are and how terrible the Bengals are. No, I'm slowly recovering from that AFC Championship game. Look, you know, in reality, it was anyone's game, and we knew that going into it. And ultimately, the Chiefs made enough plays / we got enough penalties to let them take the W there. Look, to be fair, we didn't make enough plays to win it, did we? We had the ball with 10 minutes to go and with 2 minutes to go, and we couldn't go down and score. And ultimately, that's why we lost the game. It wasn't the penalty. We shouldn't have been in that situation in the first place. So it is what it is.
You shouldn't have bet on the Bengals. This was what you said in the build-up.
No, it was Paul's fault. Paul did it.
Yeah.
Why is it always me? Why do you somehow turn it back to me? Yeah, I love it.
It's true, though. It's all your fault.
Yeah, something like that. That's it. Cincinnati, blame me, you know?
Yeah, have you
not your mayor, just me.
Yeah, Mayor Jabroni, right?
but yeah, let's go straight into it. So our plan for during the off season, we're going to do a rewind of each team and sort of look back on how this season's been. So we thought the best way to start this is going with our guests' teams. So Kev, as you're apparently number one in my heart,
But not the best.
you know, who is it you support? And let's talk about your team.
Sure. So go Birds, Eagles fan, obviously. It's been a great season. Obviously, we've still got a chance of winning the whole thing. But it was actually really promising based on last year. First round exit in the playoffs. Did better than expected. But actually, before this season, I predicted that the Eagles would win the NFC East, which they did. I thought they'd have a playoff run of some sort, but 14-3 record, getting to Super Bowl, it's far beyond my expectations. I think it's been an excellent year. First of all, we've got Coach of the Year candidate and MVP candidate as well in both Sirianni and Hurts. Jalen Hurts is actually 16-1 on the year if you count the playoffs and take out the games where he's obviously not played. So 16-1 from a guy that I'll hold my hands up. I had concerns about him being the franchise QB. He's put that to bed despite the great situation he's in. I think MVP, though, I think the edge for me still goes to Mahomes, just based on the fact that, first of all, the AFC is harder than the NFC, and also losing Tyreek Hill. I don't think anybody can say, hand on heart, you lose Tyreek Hill, one of the top 3 or 5 receivers in the league, and get better, which is a complete shock. I think if he gets it, he deserves it. I do hope Mahomes gets it, to be honest, because I would lose a little bit of money because I've had a wager on Hurts, but the last time an MVP won the Super Bowl was 1999 with Kurt Warner. So,
wow.
If you're into your superstitions, I'm hoping Mahomes gets the MVP, and we'll just hope it continues. But yeah, just back to the Eagles season. Key additions on both sides of the ball. Obviously, AJ Brown on offense. There's quite a few actually on defense. Hassan Reddick, James Bradbury, Chauncey Gardner Johnson, all massive hits this season. I said it early on in the year, actually, Eagles, for me, not being a homer, but strongest roster, most balanced roster in the NFL. They've blown out many of their opponents. They've not seen too many challenges along the way, which could be a bit of a concern if it gets into an arm wrestle on Sunday, and see if they can handle that pressure, because they've not really been tested even in the playoffs. It were 2 blowouts. I think at home the Eagles were winning games by over 14 points as an average, so it just shows that that's not a normal team in my eyes. I think the biggest surprise has been Sirianni and Gannon as coaches. I love the roster, but it was whether these guys could actually put the game plans in place for the Eagles to shine. I think was it that guy Julian Love from the Giants said that anybody could coach the Eagles? And I mean, I'm not going to throw shade at a coach that's got us to the Super Bowl, but it's a pretty good roster. So yeah, it would have been hard to not progress on last season's playoff appearance with this squad. But it is a long way from Sirianni's first ever press conference, where it was an absolute cringe fest that I didn't believe in him. So yeah, it's been a shock, but it's been a pleasant surprise. It's been an awesome season overall, but one big game to go. If he loses, then it will take the shine off just a little.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to disagree. They've had an incredible season. I've got a bit of a fun fact for you. I heard it on the 5 Yard Super Bowl show that the Eagles are the only team to go to the Super Bowl 4 times with 4 different head coaches and 4 different QBs.
Huh.
And the only other team that was close to that was Cincinnati, that have done it 3 times with 3 different coaches and 3 different QBs. And I thought it is quite rare to see, isn't it? It's quite rare to see. Like, they did it 5 years ago and they had a completely different coaching staff and everything. So it is quite interesting to see. But quick question for you, Kev. This team now is quite a young team on both sides of the ball. They're they've proven to actually be really strong. Do you see them being a dominant force moving forward in the NFC for the next few years? Do you see them having that sort of, I'm not going to say like a Chiefs kind of run, like 5 years to the championship game, but do you think, because there's a lot going on in the NFC, and I think there's quite a few teams that are maybe falling off the pace a little bit. Do you think that you could replicate this for the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, we'll come on to the NFC being the easier side and the Eagles' easy schedule as such a little bit later on. But I think they're in a lot better position to sustain a challenge than 5 years ago when Nick Foles did a great job, but Carson Wentz, he had question marks. He was playing MVP level and then he got injured, so it was, could he come back? I think the fact that they've got this young offense, they've got guys on rookie deals. There's no glaring holes either, and they've got 2 first-round draft picks this upcoming season. It's a great way to go all in, as the Jerry Jones said. I mean, we've got more first-round picks than the Cowboys, who aren't in the Super Bowl. But yeah, just I think they're a lot better place. But to become a dynasty, to be consistently contending, like your Patriots did for a while, like the Chiefs are starting to do now, it's very hard to keep getting to those championship games. Andy Reid's a master of it, because he actually did that in Philly. He got to several championship games before the Super Bowl loss that he had. So yeah, we're in a better position, but I'm not going to say we're going to go to 5 championships on the bounce, because one big injury to Jalen Hurts, and then we just get Nick Foles back.
Yeah, definitely. So Matt, let's move on to you. What team do you support, and what did you make of this season?
I am a Giants fan. Yeah, I think on the whole, I've got to be really happy with what I've seen from the Giants. I will say, I think in terms of maybe how long I've been watching NFL, maybe I'm not a veteran. I know Kev's been into the NFL quite a while. I didn't really get into watching the NFL till about 2011. It's when I went over to Vegas. It was the opening week of the season. That's when I really caught the bug of watching the NFL, which kind of ties in nicely, because I think the Giants actually won the Super Bowl. Was it 2012? I think they won it, or 11-12. Literally, as I was just getting into the NFL. So my time being a Giants fan was a little bit after that, and it's just been terrible. I've literally gone into a team that has just won the Super Bowl to becoming absolutely terrible for the last 8 years that I've been a Giants fan. I've had 1 playoff appearance. Then beyond that, I don't think we've had a winning record, maybe twice, I think, in the time that I've actually been following the Giants. So yeah, it's been really rough being a Giants fan. I don't really post about that I'm a Giants fan on Twitter. I don't really like to mention it because we have been so terrible. So it's been good just to have that 1 year of us actually being successful, making it to the playoffs. I mean, I was hoping going into the season that we could at least just improve on what happened last year. I mean, last year we didn't look great. We didn't look like we were making any steps forward. The GM that we had, the coaching staff that we had, it was just a real messy situation with the Giants. So the fact that we cleaned that up heading into this season, I was hopeful that we could maybe get a winning record is what I would have been happy with. So the fact that we managed to scrape his way into the playoffs, get to the wildcard week, and then the fact that we won as well in that first game against the Vikings, I didn't see that happening, to be honest. The Vikings, while the record obviously looked good in the regular season, some people said that maybe they weren't as strong as the record shows. But I mean, the fact that I got to see the Giants win a game in the playoffs, it sounds really petty when I say it out loud. I'm happy that I saw a game that the Giants won in the playoffs, but I mean, that's the struggles you have when you support a team that's not been doing too well in recent times. So yeah, on the whole, really happy with how the Giants have performed. The fact that Daniel Jones, the quarterback, obviously had a lot of question marks coming into this year. Could he make that step? We didn't take up that 5th-year option, and then he's just come out and proved us all wrong, really, that he can be a really stable quarterback. He's really impressed me, even at the start of the year. I had my doubts, but as the season's progressed, he's really come into his own, really stepped up to the plate and helped guide the team to the playoffs. So I've been really happy with that. Obviously, we've got the best running back in the NFL. I say it time and time again. Saquon Barkley is the best running back in the NFL. So when you've got a player like that on your team, you usually don't go too far wrong. But the fact that we've done it with no wide receivers as well has been really impressive. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Getting Thibodeau in the draft, I think it's been huge. Obviously, he didn't do too much at the start of the year with the injuries and everything, but really started coming into his own towards the end of the year. I think made a lot of enemies with opposing teams with his shenanigans, the Snow Angel. That was quite a fun one that people were getting mad at. But that's kind of one of those players that you love, don't you, on your own roster? If it's the team that you support, you love those kind of players that wind people up, get under people's skins. But I'm sure opposing fans aren't too keen in. But yeah, on the whole, it's been a really great season. Hopeful moving into next year that we can continue this lucky streak, this good roll that we're on.
I feel you, Matt, being a Bengals supporter for many years. It was extremely embarrassing. But it just goes to show things can turn around.
Absolutely.
And I do think that Brian Daboll could potentially be that guy that can turn it around for you. Like you say, I mean, it was a super impressive season working with what he had to get them into the playoffs and then beating the Vikings. So the question on everyone's lips this off-season, are they going to keep Daniel Jones? And if so, what kind of contract do you think they're going to dish out to him? There's a lot of rumours at the minute it's going to be one of these real long, expensive ones, but I don't know what you think, Matt, but I'm not sure whether that's the best way for them to spend their money going forward.
No, I think while I've praised Daniel Jones and what he's done this year has been great, I mean, I wouldn't be too happy if we went out and paid him a massive long-term deal, because I think when you look at these teams at the top, I know Jalen Hurts has gone from somebody that's been doubted, but what he's shown like the last couple of years, he is a franchise quarterback. Patrick Mahomes obviously going to go down as one of the greats in the NFL. I think you need these quality quarterbacks like yourself with the Bengals, Joe Burrow, what he's done. You can't put Daniel Jones in that kind of tier with those guys. So I wouldn't be too happy if we gave him a big deal. I've said it before on our show, and Kev, that I kind of hope he repays the faith we've given him. We've stuck with him through these tough years. Can he just give a little bit back to us? Maybe not take a huge contract, give us a little team friendly contract so we can then build the offense around him and supply him with some top weapons, because we know obviously Saquon Barkley as well as a name that's going to get talked about this offseason on whether we keep him, do we tag him, do we give him a contract. So I'd like to think that he can just give a little bit back to us, let us get him on a team friendly deal, and if he does do that, I'd be more than happy to keep him and see what he can do, because like you mentioned, Brian Daboll, what he's done. It was funny in the offseason, everyone talking the comments with Josh Allen and what he's done with him. Could he do the same with Daniel Jones? I can see Kev laughing because we mentioned it that maybe not quite to the level of Josh Allen, but I mean what he's managed to do with Daniel Jones and give him that bit of confidence has been great. So to answer your question, I hope we do keep him, maybe not to a mega contract, a mega long term one, but yeah, I'm hopeful that we do keep him and see what we can do with some weapons around him.
It is interesting though, isn't it? Because if he went out and tested the market, do you think that he would get one of these big deals? Because although we've seen him looking much better this season, I wouldn't necessarily say that I would, as another team would want to necessarily to be going out and buying him. So the question is, do you think that if they do give him one of these big expensive deals, have they potentially overpaid based on what his market would be?
I think it's like I've mentioned, we talk about the quarterbacks that all these top teams have got. You can't put Daniel Jones in that same bracket. As I mentioned, while he's looked great this year, I do think the coaching staff and having Daboll's been a huge part of that. So if he was to move to another team, you'd like to think this is going to be a team, if they're willing to pay him, he's got to go into a great situation where they've got the weapons around him that can help support him. Because if he's just in the same situation as what we are, I just don't think he's got that X factor that can take a team over the edge if they're on the brink of making the playoffs. I just don't see him as a quarterback that can push you, can lead you to a Super Bowl. So I just feel like at the moment he's kind of just in that, I don't know, like a Jimmy Garoppolo kind of mold, where he's like a really good bridge quarterback. If you get him in a good situation, he's a game manager. He can help guide a team and be a stable quarterback, but he just doesn't have that ability, I don't think, to dig a team out of a hole like a Patrick Mahomes, like a Joe Burrow when the chips are down. That these are quarterbacks that can just turn the game on its head, as well. I just don't think Daniel Jones has got that in him. But as I say, he's been fantastic what he's done this year. And for the guy himself, I hope he gets paid, because the turnaround has been incredible. It's a little bit been like a Jalen Hurts and what he's done going from the bottom and working his way up. You could say that Daniel Jones is kind of similar, because people were wanting him out after the first couple of years. So the fact that he's stuck with it and made those improvements, I do hope he gets another contract in the NFL and a successful one.
So what you're saying is next year Daniel Jones is going to be this year's Jalen Hurts, is it?
I mean, it'd be nice. He's got a little bit of Russian about him. He's got a little bit of Jalen Hurts about him.
I'm sure you mentioned Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts there. I think you got a bit of the Giants blanket.
I mean, the trouble is though, the problem here, Paul, is that's it. I'm wanting Daniel Jones to be these quarterbacks. He's not those quarterbacks now, so that's the trouble. You can't put him in that kind of bracket. He still needs to take step forwards to be an elite quarterback. And personally, I just don't think he's quite got it. But at the same time, I'm hopeful that he sticks about in the NFL and does something for somebody.
Yeah, maybe you'll get T. Higgins, right? And then suddenly become this amazing superstar.
I mean, I've had my pain with the wide receivers coming to the Giants in Kenny Golladay. So I mean, I've got my reservations about bringing in wide receivers. I'm happy with these little Chick-fil-A workers and McDonald's workers that we've got around, because they're getting paid nothing and they're doing the job. So I mean, I'm worried about these big contract guys, but yeah, I mean, T. Higgins would be. I'd love that. I love T. Higgins. So if we could get T. Higgins in a Giants jersey, that'd be coming straight onto my back, and I'd be getting one of those.
Yeah. So, quick question though, Matt. If you were to give Daniel Jones a contract, what would you like? Because, like, in my opinion, I think something like a 2-year deal would be about right. You can sort of roll him for another year, see what if he can step up that little bit more, and if not, you've got an easy way out of it and rebuild from there.
Yeah, that's a. Sorry.
I'm
go on, Hannah.
Sorry about that.
No, go for it.
My only question about this whole thing is, with Dayball now, potentially they're going to be a bit more competitive. So where are you going to find your quarterback if it's not Daniel Jones? Like, it's unlikely you're going to be high in the draft now over the next few years. You haven't got loads of. I mean, you may be able to accrue some by trading, but at the minute you don't have anything more than, your standard picks. So how are you going to manage to find that QB that's going to be your franchise QB now that you're actually in a good situation? This is where I think it's going to be a bit more difficult.
Yeah, and this is where the problem is with Daniel Jones and what he's done. He's kind of his reward is getting us to the playoffs, but he's kind of stabbed us in the back as well by being good. He's kind of took us away from getting one of these quarterbacks in the offseason. I was saying, yeah, right, we're going to struggle again. We're looking at like a Bryce Young and CJ Stroud in this upcoming draft, and then Daniel Jones turns it on and with Brian Daboll, and now he's kind of pushed us away from being able to get one of these quarterbacks. And like you said, if he does continue to be this solid quarterback, we're not really going to be in a position where we can grab one of these quarterbacks early. I mean, maybe in this draft, if somebody like an Anthony Richardson falls a little bit later, and we can maybe take a quarterback like him that's obviously a little bit more risk attached than one of the top quarterbacks. That's kind of an option, one of those kind of quarterbacks, maybe this year, maybe next year. But yeah, he has put us in a bit of a hole with what he's done this year. But I mean, fair play to him. He's playing for a contract. You can't knock the guy for it. And going to your question, Paul, I think, yeah, I've mentioned to Kev a few times. I kind of want him to repay us that little bit, maybe just take a shorter contract, a little bit less money, and repay us for keeping faith. So yeah, like you mentioned, 2 years a bit more ideal. Then it gives us a chance he can still have a couple of years of proving us wrong and proving that he can be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And if it doesn't play out, then at least we're not tied to him long term like these guys like a Russell Wilson, who obviously Denver paid a huge amount to acquire, and his contracts kind of just tied him into that situation now for years. So yeah, I'm hopeful that he just repays us. Let's have a team-friendly deal that we can see what happens. And who knows, maybe he can do it next year. Maybe next year we could be on the show again, and I could be singing the praises of Super Bowl winning Daniel Jones. I mean, who knows?
Do you know what I love about this so far? We've invited you guys onto the show. Kev you're going to get to talk about the Eagles a lot more now. But Matt, we've basically grilled you for the last 10 minutes about Daniel Jones and his contract. Thanks for coming on. But yeah, we were going to talk about Ali's team, but we'll see if we can get him on another time, and we'll talk about
they suck anyways.
Yeah, so let's get into the main event, the big one, the Super Bowl. So I'm gonna kick things off. I have a question for you, but I also have a really, really cool stat that is pretty much against my own team. So
I wanted to say this one. Damn, I know what you're gonna say. I was looking forward to saying this one.
I know what it's gonna be. I know what it's gonna be.
Go on.
Whoever wins in Arizona this year, is going to have more wins in Arizona than Arizona. So Jalen Hurts came to Arizona and won in Arizona. Kyler Murray has 1 win in Arizona this year, and Pat Mahomes has a win in Arizona this year. So whoever wins is going to have more wins than the Cardinals. So
Brilliant.
I've got it out there. So Mags, you can't shove that in my face. So sorry. But yeah, so right, guys, I'm going to throw a quick question to all of you. So I'll start with you, Mags, because you haven't got to say much, which is probably a relief after last week.
It is for me anyway.
So Mags, quick question: who wins the toss, and will we see overtime?
Let's give the Eagles a little victory on the coin toss. Will we? I'll say the Eagles will win the coin toss. I can't see overtime. I just can't. I can't put that out there. I'm going to say no overtime because I couldn't bear it. So I can't put that out in the universe. So no overtime. And yeah, let's give the Eagles the coin toss.
Hannah, what are you saying?
I'm going to say Chiefs coin toss. I did see something, I think it was on Twitter actually. Some guy bet like many amounts on the Chiefs winning the coin toss. So I'm going with him and I'm going to say Chiefs. And no, I actually also don't think there's going to be overtime. I think we're going to find a winner in regular.
Kev?
Yeah, I think Eagles coin toss. I think they will elect to receive as well. One thing that stood out for me was I think the 49ers won the coin toss last week and elected to give the Eagles the ball, and because obviously their defense is their strength, and then I think the Eagles went down the other end and popped one on them, didn't they? So it's is what it is. What was your second question? Because I was just too excited to get that fun fact out there.
And will we see overtime?
No overtime.
No overtime. Matt?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Eagles as well. I think to win the coin toss. I mean, whether that helps them win the Super Bowl, who knows? But yeah, I think they're gonna win the coin toss. And I mean, look, we're all from the UK. We don't want to see overtime, do it. So I'm not going to try and wish it into the universe. So I'm going to say no to the overtime. So
I was going to say a Chiefs win the coin toss. So that probably means that 3 of you are right. And I was going to say we actually will see overtime. So sorry to do that to 2 of you, but
horrible.
I think this is going to be a battle. But yeah, so Mags, come on then. You haven't had much to say. What you feeling about this game? What you thinking before we get into our predictions and stuff? What you thinking?
I keep changing what I think is going to happen, and it's just. I think a lot of it is really going to boil down to the Chiefs' defensive line against the Eagles' offensive line. I think that is going to be the most important battle there is, because the skill players on either team, the real big guys, like the Eagles aren't going to stop Travis Kelce. Nobody can stop Travis Kelce. The Chiefs aren't going to stop AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. No one's been able to do that all year. So it's how about you try and find ways to win the battles that you can actually win. And I think the defensive line versus the offensive line is about as close to a 50-50 as you could get. Like the Eagles' offensive line has been the best, up there with the Lions this year. Probably slight edge to the Eagles. But then the Chiefs' defensive line has just been coming on towards the end. Like Chris Jones has been an absolute force. Frank Clark is looking back to his old self. George Karlaftis has come on really, really well. So I think those three in particular, that's going to be interesting to see what happens with people like Willie Gabb as well, kind of coming in and out. But then Kev will probably be able to speak more about, the talent the Eagles have in the offensive line, but they've just looked so solid all year. I think you got one, I don't know if it's your left guard or left tackle, has allowed 8 sacks, which is more than everyone else put together. So there's one maybe weakness there. And is there someone injured, Kev? Is that right?
Yeah, the left guard Landon Dixon, he did something with his elbow. They're hopeful that he'll play.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great O-line. Maybe more in the run game, but yeah, pretty solid in the pass game as well, apart from that one weak link who I'm not going to name so that no one else knows.
Don't you words like that, Kev.
But yeah, I think that's going to be a really big battle. Question marks about both quarterbacks, obviously. Is Jalen Hurts' shoulder fully healed? Is Patrick Mahomes' ankle fully healed? I think they'll both be fine for the game, probably. The rookie cornerbacks for the Chiefs have done so well all year, and this rookie secondary. But I mean, AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, that's as good as it gets. I mean, they did fare well against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I'm more worried about Devonta Smith, weirdly, because I think any kind of game plan you have for Jamar Chase, you can kind of cut and paste it a little bit for AJ Brown. There's no real Devonta Smith type guy on that Bengals team that the Chiefs have been game planning for all year. So I'd be more worried about what Devonta Smith and maybe even Dallas Goedert could do to open up the Chiefs than AJ Brown. So, put your money on AJ Brown scoring over 2 touchdowns. But yeah, I just can't wait to see what happens. Every single time the lights are bright, Patrick Mahomes usually turns up. So I'm just putting it down to him. The Chiefs are not going to win this game without Patrick Mahomes stealing the show. So it's kind of 90% on him, I think, whereas the Eagles have spread out who can win them the game a little bit more. But I think it's going to only come down to Mahomes for the Chiefs.
Yeah, so one of my big worries about this game is I don't want to see injuries. I don't want to see either QB be taken out because their elbow or their ankle's hurting or anything like this. And I want to see these two teams go at it. And that's what we all want to see as a neutral fan. We want to see these two. And, they are both the number 1 seed and they're both, they are the best all season. But it doesn't matter who we'd have seen in the Super Bowl. I just want to see them both be healthy and sling that ball up and down the field. And I think it's going to be insane. And, I listened to that 5-yard Super Bowl thing. And, mate, honestly, I literally swapped my choice listening to this back and forth because they had a Chiefs fan on there. And, he sold it to me. And I was there Andy Reid, okay? He's been to the championship game 5 years in a row. He's been to this is his 3rd Super Bowl in 5 years, He's got the experience. He's got the knowledge. He's been there. He knows what he's planning for. And then the Eagles side, I was like, yep, Andy Reid's going to do this. And then they're talking about the Eagles and how dominant they've been with every part of the game and how Jalen Hurts and that rushing ability and the Eagles just can run the ball through the best of them, And I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm Team Eagles now. Let's go Birds. And then somebody will come on and talk about it, and I'm like, no, it's all about the Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to do this. And then they're talking Eagles, and I'm just going, oh my God, I can't predict this, and I'm just so excited for it. And do you know what? I thought I was excited for last year's Super Bowl, but I actually feel like I'm a little bit more excited about this one. And I genuinely don't know why, because
Anna's fuming.
Anna's not.
Sorry, Hannah, he didn't make it. But I don't know why, because I thought I'd be Team Eagles all the way. I hate the Chiefs, and I just want to see them lose. And I just don't know why, but I'm starting to side with the Chiefs here, and I'm like, oh no, I can't do this. Mags, it's taken you all this time, and you started to break me down. But
No,
Bad
go back
time,
to the way you were. Go back to the way you were. Don't be predicting the Chiefs to win any.
Kev is well pleased with this development.
Predict a draw.
We just
What
have to
happens
see
if
what
it
it
goes?
says.
What happens actually? Does anyone know if it's a draw and then overtime ends, so they just keep doing overtime? Has that ever happened before?
no, so what they do, mate, is they cut the trophy in half and say you have half and you have half.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
and
nice.
everyone gets a ring. That's what it is nowadays, isn't it?
You get like a half a ring, so you have to weld the rest on yourself.
Yeah, so you know what I mean. There's some people that you could give half a ring to, but right, Hannah, what have you got about this game? You got any feelings about this game?
This is quite handy actually, because there's a couple of points from Mags's monologue that I just wanted to kind of mention. So he was saying that he thought, Mags, you thought that the Chiefs' defensive line versus the Eagles' offensive line was probably the biggest matchup. For me, actually, I think it's the opposite way round. I think it's that Eagles D line with the Chiefs O line. Because although, I mean, I think Mahomes is obviously going to show up no matter what, whether his ankle's there or not, he would show up. He'd run on one leg if he had to, as we've seen. But ultimately, I do still think there is a slight weakness there that can be exploited by the Eagles. Although he runs a bit like a dad, he still seems to manage to get places pretty quickly. And I think he is going to be a smidge slower. And I think it's really important for that Chiefs O-line to stand up to that Eagles D-line. I think even more so than usual in this game. And like you said, I think Mahomes is going to be the guy. If the Chiefs are going to win, he has to turn it up. And I think if that Eagles D-line can stop him from escaping the pocket or stepping or running out or getting to where he needs to be, I think they are going to get that upper hand, and I think that's where they're gonna win it on that one, really, because I think that's their most important matchup there.
That's how the Bucks won 2 years ago, was just crushing the Chiefs offensive line, if that happens again, you're right, it'll be game over.
I also think from the Chiefs cornerbacks and their secondary, I think they're going to have to work much harder in this game, because the issue in the AFC Championship game for us as the Bengals was our O-line was total shit. And so basically he didn't have time to get the ball out to his receivers, and they couldn't get to where they should have been in their spots because he just was chucking it out quickly because he didn't have time. So I think there's going to be more time here for Jalen Hurts, and therefore that secondary needs to hold up much better, I think, than in the AFC Championship game. So I think really this is going to be a true test for them. Are they good enough to withhold AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, or are they going to go streaking past them or doing their double maneuvers and getting into space? I think there's a chance that could happen. I mean, I think ultimately the game, this is another one where it could ultimately go either way. I think if the Eagles are playing at their best and they can exploit the Chiefs' weaknesses, I think they may ultimately tip it, but anything can happen, right?
Yeah. Kev, anything, any comments on what's been said so far, or any your own points to make?
I've got absolutely loads of points. Like it's embarrassing how many points I've got, to be honest. Hopefully as many as the Eagles on Sunday, but wait, come on. I mean, first of all, I'm drinking a red drink, so hopefully that's some Chiefs tears in the I think there has been some great points made. It is literally a coin flip sort of game. The two number 1 seeds both got the same record, both scored the same number of points on the season, same number of All Pros, have both got a Kelsey brother as well. So,
oh wow,
it is literally a coin flip. I don't know if Max feels the same as me, but it feels like a couple of weeks back the Eagles and the Chiefs were disrespected. It felt like the general public, the normal fan wanted a San Francisco NFC champion and any of the Bills or the Bengals AFC champion. That's how it felt to me. Maybe because I'm an Eagles fan and we moan that nobody likes us and we don't care, but I care. I'm a sensitive guy. But anyway, my perfect Super Bowl, Andy Reid, Eagles legend, Eagles there as well. So really happy about that. Mags will obviously give you his bits on the Chiefs, but I'll give you the bits on the Eagles. I think, first of all, a lot of talk was about the easy schedule, which I'm going to address right now.
No.
So,
Let's go.
Here we
Settle
go.
in, everyone.
Seatbelts on.
You can fast forward this, but Philadelphia's faced opponents with a higher win rate than the Chiefs. They also faced more teams with a winning record, and the Eagles came out of a division where it produced 3 playoff teams, both of who won on the road versus divisional winners of their own, obviously matched Giants and them Cowboys. Yes, the 49ers game was a lot of injury luck there, and we didn't probably see a true battle that would have maybe put the Eagles in good stead for another battle this Sunday, but they put up 31 points on the number 1 defense. There's a lot of shade thrown at the Giants about that it's only Daniel Jones, but yeah, the Giants did win on the road to the number 3 seed Vikings, so they deserve to be there in that game. And then just looking at the other side with the Chiefs, they beat the Jags in the playoffs, who were 9-8 on the year. The Jags lost the Giants this season, so I think judging them games, the Eagles probably had an harder first game. Obviously, the Bengals are a lot better than Josh Johnson's 49ers, so I do get that. But I think saying that the Eagles have an easy schedule and not mentioning the Chiefs side, I don't think that's fair. I think it's not like the Chiefs are playing the 1972 Dolphins each week. So that's my rant over. I think both teams can feel disrespected, but yeah, you've got to come out swinging it when everyone's coming after you, I guess. A little bit like Rocky, but yeah, I think
anyone can win in the NFC though, right? I
mean, we'll see.
Beating a positive record NFC team, half a point, right? Beating a positive record AFC team, 1.5 points.
Correct.
What do you boys think, Paul, Matt?
I'm
NFC fans.
Kev, I have no stand on anything. We're just garbage. I heard we're playing in the XFL next year. You know what I mean?
I will give the Chiefs this. Obviously, they faced some elite teams this season, lost in the regular season to the Bills and the Bengals, which the Eagles they faced the Cowboys as a team with a lot of wins, and the Vikings. But yeah, I think at the top end, the Chiefs had a harder regular season, but overall, it was almost as easy as the Eagles' season. And actually, the 49ers had an easy schedule than the Eagles. So everyone can stop blowing the smoke up them. I just think on paper, I really like the matchup for the Eagles. First of all, the pass offense versus Chiefs pass D. Number 9 in pass offense, and this was despite blowing out a load of teams and not passing in the second half. I think we've got a show that's dropping tomorrow night. We were speaking about AJ Brown and Devontae Smith being Batmen, both guys who are 1A and 1B in their own right, really. So I like that matchup. I'll give a slight edge to Philadelphia's run offense versus the Chiefs' run defense. And something to note is the Chiefs are 5th worst against rushing QBs. So maybe it could be a Jalen Hurts day if that shoulder holds up. I think flip side as well, you've got Philly's number 1 pass defense against the Chiefs' number 1 pass offense. I think both are going to have the plays either way. I think the weakness on the Eagles is the run defense, 17th in the league. But this is also not the strongest place for the Chiefs unless Edwards-Helaire is going to come back and come and bite me, but can't see that.
It's a big Ronald Jones game coming.
It's a Rojo game. You'll have to clip that if Edwards-Helaire does come back. It'll be like Ronda Rousey when she said, "I'm not going to get kicked in the head," and then she got kicked in the head.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. One of my biggest concerns actually is special teams after watching Brett Kern punting against the 49ers, but we're hopeful that our punter who's been on IR, Sipos, he could be activated. Although, speaking of special teams worries, we've had Sky Moore issues as well at parts in this season. So, yeah, go for it, Paul. You got your hand up.
Who is the 32nd worst ranked team for special teams this year? Do you know?
God. Chiefs?
Must
The
be.
Chiefs.
Yeah, Sky Moore's dropped 3 punt returns. So that alone has to.
So, quick question, Mags. Sorry, Kev. You can get back in. Quick question, Mags. Do you trust Sky Moore to punt return in the Super Bowl?
No, I can't. He did. I mean, obviously, he had that amazing, punt return against the Bengals. Well, not amazing. Good punt return against
game
the
winning
Bengals.
punt return. Game winning
like,
punt return.
With that help from his friend who pushed the guy in the back, right? Well done, Sky Moore. You ran through a massive hole because no one was coming for you because your friend got pushed over.
But she's not bitter. She's not bitter. Don't let her believe.
No. She's all right. She's all right.
She's over it. She's totally over it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm moving on to next year now.
I'm hoping Kadarius Toney will be fit so he can do the punt returning, because I would have him over Sky Moore 10 times out of 10. But if it happens to be Sky Moore, we'll have to deal with it. But yeah, I just he's dropped so many during the season, and this is where the lights are the brightest. Yeah, I'd rather have Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, Kev, you can continue.
I've caught my breath now.
I think I didn't get a chance to say anything at this rate.
I'm terrible. I'm so sorry. I'm
really... the Screamathon, right?
Yeah.
16 hours.
I'll be more concise. I do apologise. So yeah, I just think overall, something we're not. Obviously, there's a matchup on the field, but I think overall experience could be a massive factor. That the Chiefs have been to 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls. Andy Reid's in his 4th on his own. Eagles are inexperienced in the big game. They've not been tested really this season. So I think you've got inexperienced coaching staff and skilled players on offense for the Eagles as well. So I think if the Eagles handle the occasion, they will win. That's my prediction. I'm going to take them by 4. I'm praying Paul Pickin picks the Chiefs. Fingers crossed. But yeah, coming to you, Hannah, I want to get your predictions on how you think it'll go, who you think will win, and also who will have more receiving yards, AJ Brown or Travis Kelce?
So I actually agree with you, Kev. So although I did take the mick out of them and their strength of schedule because you were getting so passionate about it, I do genuinely believe they deserve to be here. And I think we've all seen throughout the whole season that they have a very strong roster and team. So ultimately, I agree if they manage to kind of take care of themselves and, kind of get used to the environment, I think ultimately they win. If they get nervous, I think ultimately they lose. But I'm going to say that I think the Eagles are going to win. I think they're going to manage their nerves. And I think they're just going to get over the hump. I'm not bitter about losing in the AFC Championship, I promise. No, I think ultimately I do think it's this D versus the Chiefs O-line, and I think they're going to manage to just contain Mahomes enough. So I'm going to say Eagles, but I'm actually going to say that Travis Kelce is going to get the more yards because I think he's going to be needed in this one. And I think if it's going to be a close game, then Travis is going to be there, especially when they've got barely, well, I think most people are going to be back, but there's receiver question marks for the Chiefs. So I think Kelce's going to be even more important here in this one. So I'm going to go Travis Kelce. So who do I have? Oh, Matt. Poor you. You've been sat here for ages listening to everyone talk. So, Matt, I'm happy to hear. What do you think on the game?
Yeah, I mean, I was waiting for my chance, and then Kev, we wound him up and we let him go, and you couldn't stop him when he got on his roll. So I was resigned to the fact that I was not going to be able to give my thoughts on it. But to be honest, I haven't got too much more to add. I mean, you 4 have all nailed it. We've had Mags talking about the Chiefs, Kev's obviously preaching about the Eagles. I'll just go back to what Paul said. I think this game for me, sorry Hannah, but this is the most excited I've been for a Super Bowl in for as long as I can remember, to be honest. Two teams that you just can't call it. It is literally 50-50. I think the storylines that are in the game as well. I mean, I've got to say bravo to us for not mentioning the Kelsey Bowl until about 40 minutes in when Kev brought it up. But obviously that's a storyline that's been talked about loads and will continue to be spoke about a lot.
Who cares about the Kelsey brothers when you could have Joe Burrow? I mean, come on.
True. But then Andy Reid as well, obviously that's a big storyline as well in this game. So I just think on the whole, it's an exciting game in terms of the teams on show, but then the storylines in it as well is obviously amazing. So yeah, I can't wait. Personally, I think the Eagles are going to nick it. Sorry, Max, but I do think the Eagles are going to pinch it. Sorry to Kev as well if I'm jinxing your team, but as I say, it's literally 50-50. It could go either way. I would not be shocked at all if the Chiefs won. I mean, 2 words, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's all you need to win a game. So yeah, I'm just excited for the game, to be honest, and can't wait for it. I literally can't wait for it.
And before everyone else starts talking again, Matt, my prediction for you is which defense has the most sacks?
Now, I'll say for 2 reasons, this is a brilliant question. One, because I was actually tempted to ask this myself, so I'm glad that you put it on the show sheet. Otherwise, I'd be in a mad panic trying to think of my question for the predictions. But the second reason why is, and I'm sure you know this, Hannah, because we all know you're the brains of this operation, so I know you'll know this. But in terms of the NFL sack leaders, who ranks number 1? The Eagles. Who ranks number 2? The Chiefs. This is literally perfect. It couldn't align any better. So it's a great question. I think the Chiefs have had 70 in the regular. The Eagles have had 70 in the regular season. Chiefs had 55, so 15 behind. I think the Eagles have had 1 more in the playoffs as well, so they've had 16 more sacks. But then you think about on the other side, who's protecting the quarterback? Well, actually, the Chiefs have been better at protecting the quarterback. I believe they've had 25, I think 26, and the Eagles have allowed more sacks. So it's really interesting. It's a really interesting question. I think with the Eagles, how they looked last week against the 49ers, what some Reddit were doing. I mean, it's going to be hard to stop that guy. If he's on that kind of form, if he's in that kind of mood like he was against the 49ers, yeah, I think it's going to be tough start. So I am going to say I think that the Eagles have the most sacks, but I think it's going to be a great show in terms of what the defenses can do. And obviously the offense is protecting the quarterback as well. It's just an ideal Super Bowl. This is what we dream of. And yeah, is it over to me now to ask the question? I'm asking Paul. Yes.
Oh, no.
Paul, yes. This is the big one. This is what everyone wants to know, Paul. Mystic Paul, who loves to jinx everybody and jinx everybody's team. I mean, obviously, we need to know who you think is going to win, but then my prediction for you as well. We've spoke about the quarterbacks at length. Everybody excited about the receiving options, the quarterbacks. I want to know about the running backs. Let's talk about the running backs. Let's give them a little bit of love. So I want to know who's going to have the most rushing yards, Miles Sanders or Isaiah Pacheco?
So I've got 2 very nervous people just staring at me right now. Going, please don't say my team. Please don't say my team. Please don't say. And I still don't know, if I'm honest. It's so tough to, like you said, Matt, it's so 50-50, and this could go any way possible. I think the Eagles are stronger offensively, but you just can never write off Pat Mahomes. And I think the Chiefs are going to win.
Oh,
Kev's loving it.
Might as well start crying now, Mags. Get over it before it even starts.
Oh,
Mags has left the building.
It's been a good year, I suppose. I'm going to start typing up the show sheet for next week and talk about how I'm going to be gracious in defeat.
I think there's going to be a lot of F's and U, Paul, you know?
Oh, man. Now, do you genuinely think the Chiefs are going to win, or are you saying that just to spite me?
No. So, as mentioned last week, I did do that playoff prediction thing, and so far the only game that I've got wrong was the Cowboys 49ers. I predicted an Eagles-Chiefs final, and I did predict the Chiefs to win. So I feel like I should back myself there. I'll go on the greatest run anyone's ever seen since Mo Farah. And and back the Chiefs. But I'm also going to say Miles Sanders has more rushing yards. I think that Eagles team is always one to watch when it comes to running the ball. But yeah, I got to ask Ali his question, and he's gone for an Eagles win. And I asked him over or under 4.5 total touchdowns, and he's gone for the over. He said it's going to be exactly 6, and Kenneth Gainwell's going to get the winning touchdown.
Wow.
So we're all excited to see that. But he also hasn't put a prediction for you, Mags. So, Mags, over to you. Who wins?
Yep.
Yeah. And which wide receiver catches the ball first?
Oh, this is the same thing as last time. All right. So, do you know what? Let's go out there. You know,
Who did you have winning the kickoff?
So yeah, I had the Eagles at 1. So I imagine they'll opt to get the ball. So, right, I'm going to go out there a little bit. I'm going to say the Chiefs are going to win, and the first reception is going to go to the one and only Quez Watkins. Quez Watkins. He's getting it. Kev, I realize I forgot to ask you your prediction as well. Obviously, you said he's going to win, but my question was, who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl MVP?
Yeah, it's got to be Hurts, hasn't it? You've got to pick QB on the team you think's going to win. It's logical to go that way. Not Brett Kern.
And with that brings us to the end. We'd like to thank Kev and Matt for joining us. Could you just let everyone know where they can find you and what you guys have got coming up on your show?
Yeah, I'm Kev at Dynasty_Goat, co-host with the handsome Matt on our show Wildcard Dynasty at Wildcard Dynasty. Part of Fantasy Wildcard, obviously, people know that. We've also got Ali, who's our co-host as well, who's not with us tonight, but we are 3 awesome people, like you, actually. You 3 are awesome. We're an awesome 6. What an amazing squad we've got here. Yeah, we'll do a weekly podcast. We've got Streamathon coming up in May as well, which people assumed because we do it every year, but we've just announced it now as a little sneak to the audience. So,
breaking news.
There you go. Thanks for having us on. Pleasure as always. And yeah, over to you, Matt.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at MattFFDynasty. Kev just said it all basically. My amazing co-host Kev. You can find us, Fantasy Dynasty, Wildcard Dynasty on Twitter. You can find a show. Every Tuesday, is it, Kev, that the podcast comes out? Look at him. Can't have. Oh god. But yeah, that's where you can find me on Twitter. I've not really got much more to plug about. I've got Giants on with stuff there. Yeah, whatever. That's where you can find me if you want to chat to me on Twitter. But that's about it.
Here's the Super Bowl champions 2024.
Yes. I've got a mug with a bear.
Shut up, Mags. Let me say thank you. Thank you for having us on and being the first guest. It's a privilege to be the first guest on the Rewind show. And yeah, like Kev said, we've got a great squad, haven't we, over here with the Wildcard group. So thank you. Now you can do your little gloating and whatever you're doing.
any last words?
Great, you've got 2 minutes for all to celebrate your kingdom.
I've just had a great time. It's been a great show. And as a neutral, it has been great fun talking about it. And no hard feelings, Mags. You know, at the end of the day, the best team won, didn't they? But come on, birds. I've loved chatting with Kev and Matt. It's been awesome. It's been really great. Thank you guys for coming on. I've had a great time. Yeah,
absolutely. Couldn't have asked for 2 better first guests. I mean, the best 2 from the Dynasty team.
Yeah, I just say what the other guys have said. That thanks for coming on. Thanks for being our first guests, and thanks for giving us 3 this opportunity to do this podcast and come on here and have a laugh with each other and chat NFL. It's great fun, and no better way to have it as you guys as our first guests. And with that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Twitter at Wildcard Rewind. Head on over to our YouTube channel, search for the Fantasy Wildcard Podcast Network, and make sure that you give us a like and a subscribe. And we will see you next week, where we actually rewind the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, baby.